channel. My name is Shirvin and I'm a licensed therapist. Today I thought I would have a nice sit down chit chat yap session about how I became a therapist. And to be honest, I'm still working on feeling comfortable with staring at the camera and talking to a camera, which is ironic because when I do virtual sessions, all I'm doing is staring at a camera. It's also ironic because I'm not really thinking too hard about how I look and all of that, but when I'm filming these kind of videos, I'm a lot more nervous and a lot more anxious about it, even though I know I can do multiple takes or edit it. And I think a reason might be I know that it's going to be up there for whoever to see, and when I'm working as a therapist in a session, I'm so focused on my client and what they're saying that I just present myself naturally. So I hope that with more practice sitting in front of the camera, I can feel more comfortable, more natural, and just talk about what's on my mind, what I've learned, and different things that you might relate with or might stick with you, or maybe, hopefully, you learn something new. But for today, I wanted to talk about what led me to become a therapist. And if I were to go back to when I was young, I'm sure you might have heard something like this, but I was told before, like, oh, you're such a good listener, you know, you're like a therapist. People are saying that kind of as a joke. And I never thought much of it. When I went through high school and my undergrad, I knew I wanted to do something that I was directly helping or making impact to someone's life or some kind of healthcare thing. I knew in undergrad I didn't want to go directly into healthcare. I think I just didn't like the science enough, even though my whole undergraduate degree was in biology and in science. In high school, pretty much whenever I was able to, I was always working in the community. I was working with youth in neglect, volunteer work that had to do with community work, with social support. After I finished my undergrad, I was honestly still quite lost. A lot of my friends were going into professional degrees like dentistry or med school or pharmacy school, and I was really at a crossroad. I didn't know what to do. I was beating myself up for not being in the same position as some other people were. People were finding really good jobs. People were doing different degrees that were just leading them to the next step of their life. I told myself, okay, let's see what's out there. I found work as a program manager at the substance use clinic, and I didn't become a program manager right away. I was there for about 4 to 5 years, and the first 2 years was more of talking to clients who were interested in the program, hearing their story, helping with the intake process, and eventually I became the program manager. That's when I worked even closely with the team, which consisted of doctors and different therapists. When you see people make changes with their health, their well-being, their mindset, and how a therapist or just someone who's listening, someone who's supportive, someone who's there can help someone get to that next stage of their life and make a change, it's really inspiring. That really led me to think, wow, maybe I have what it takes to go back to school and to do therapy work. I applied for a graduate degree, which was about 2.5 years. I finished that, did my practicum, which is where all of my learning was. The practicum really catapulted me into the therapy role, into having those one-on-one sessions and holding space for clients and learning and building all of those skills as a student. I was really lucky in my practicum to also have one-on-one supervision once a week, as well as group supervision, where all the other interns and I would come together for 3 hours a week, and we would talk about our different caseloads. We would share our learnings, any questions we had, and support each other. Because you can only see a certain amount of clients yourself, especially depending on how busy the clinic is. A lot of the learning came from hearing from other clinicians, from other supervisors, and their insights. I found that really valuable. It's the same thing with my own personal development. I love reading books and listening to audiobooks, autobiographies, and people sharing about their experiences, which is why I also like listening to podcasts. because at first I tried to read a lot of personal development books or books about self-help strategies and skills, which I found that I could Google those kind of things, but what really helped me learn and hone my skills, and to this day I still try to do this, is listening to the experiences of other people. I also practice doing this by whenever I watch TV shows, reality TV, a movie, whatever it is, there's a subconscious part of my brain. I used to do this a lot more actively. I still kind of do this now depending on what I'm watching. I will think about that character or that person as though they were my client. I would almost build this case conceptualization in my head, and I would think, if this person was my client, what kind of questions would I ask them? What's going on here? What can I do to support them? What interventions or skills strategies would be helpful in supporting this client moving forward? Yeah, my brain never really shuts off, and there are so many things that are happening all the time. I'm not really psychoanalyzing my friends or my family or people, but the way you see the world changed a bit. You are more in tune with your thoughts and your feelings. At least that's my case. I think it's been such a rewarding experience being a therapist because I'm able to really focus on what's happening in my body, what's happening in my heart, what's happening in my mind, and what's happening for other people. It's recognizing it's okay to have emotions, to be upset, to be angry, to be frustrated, but it's how you're going to work through it is the big difference here. And I learned this from my clients, and I hope that I can teach my clients different skills and strategies. And yeah, everyone is so different and comes to therapy from a different place. And if you were to ask me what are some things I wish I knew before I became a therapist, it's not just about having those one-on-one sessions or group sessions or relationship sessions. It's also about all the admin and behind the scenes. Because when you're a therapist, let's say you're doing private practice, you are doing your own invoices, your own billing, and having an accountant is really helpful because if there are things about taxes that you might not know, having an accountant has really helped me with that. It's also things like marketing or branding, having your own website, how you can get clients, being on directories, if that's helpful for you, analyzing those analytics. You are literally a business owner. You're self-employed, you have your own business license, and you need to be able to learn all those different skills that you're not taught to do in school, because in school you're taught the different fundamental skills, the interventions, and the approaches. And all these things you have to learn and grow on your own. A lot of the times, the first year or so is spent building up your name, your branding, your reputation. A lot of the clients that you end up getting, especially if you have your own private practice, is through word of mouth or referrals. It helps also to join a group practice, which I'm a part of, the lovely Mango Mental Health. When you join a group practice, you pay a commission of each hour or hourly rate you see a client. It goes back to the group practice owner, but they do help with things like marketing, they help with answering any admin emails. It's also a nice way to connect with other therapists who are also part of the group practice. One of the reasons why I love being with Mango is not only the beautiful aesthetic space, I enjoyed connecting with the other therapists. We do monthly group supervision with an external supervisor, which is a therapist that's outside of the group practice. And this group practice in particular, Mango Mental Health, really focuses on community and building events and opportunities to connect with people in other ways other than the one-on-one counseling. So it is a lot to think about when you want to be a therapist. It's not just about the money and how you're going to make that in the first year after you're done school, but it's also about how you're going to market yourself, how all that's going to look like, how you're going to get clients and the taxes. It's a lot to learn and it can be overwhelming, but it pays off after a year or two of just figuring that out and getting the groove going. And Once you have that steady flow and pace, you really start focusing on other things, like how you can continue to improve your skills in being a counselor. I'm also in a unique situation where I work for a nonprofit, which I love doing because I love being in an organization where it's really about giving back and having people be able to access services that are of no cost to them. So during my Monday to Fridays, I work in a chronic pain organization, and I help run group sessions, managing volunteers for our coaching program, our support line, and kind of do a little bit of everything there, which really fills my bucket because it can feel really exhausting to do one-on-one sessions all the time. And I get to do this in my private practice and with Mango Mental Health, where I see clients in person. And then with chronic pain, it's not always with clients all day, every day, but it's a little bit of everything. And that works for me, but everyone's going to have a different sense of what they want their workload to look like. For example, there are some therapists who'll do private practice and consistently see maybe 15 to 20 clients spread out through the week. They'll do the notes, they'll do the prep and the sessions, and that's what fills their bucket. And for me, maybe that's something I'll do down the road, but I really like the opportunity to connect with the community, which is so much of what my past experiences have been, and the nonprofit work and just working with different types of clinicians. I get to connect with occupational therapists, social workers, other counselors, physicians, and I find that to be so valuable in my learning. Whenever someone is looking for care, having a collaborative team, so having not only a counselor, but a family doctor or a specialist can make you feel a lot more supported. I like being able to do that in my work in the nonprofit field. And maybe later on that'll change. But for now, this is what works for me, and everyone does different work in different settings. It's all about finding your own balance. I think that's the most important thing. What fills your bucket, what makes you feel balanced, and what helps you keep growing. Those are the three things that I try to keep in mind when I approach my work and making sure that I feel balanced and well. Well, there you have it. Some fun facts about my journey in being a therapist. If you have any questions, if you're curious about what the road is to become a therapist, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, message me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye.